Hi, I wanted to take a moment to share with you about something that recently happened in my life. I have a 2.5, almost 3-year-old son, and he had a febrile seizure, and that was about 2 weeks ago. So the seizure was a full grand mal seizure where his body was shaking and his eyes rolled back and his tongue was hanging out. And it was very traumatic for me and my partner, and for Aiden as well, which I've noticed signs of that, after the seizure. So other than that, though, he's been, totally fine. So the things that he's experienced has been not really feeling sure about himself, and not wanting to take naps, not wanting to go to sleep by himself, and also a fear of the bath. So knowing what I know about energy techniques and tools, I knew that I needed to take care of myself immediately after the trauma. So as soon as we came home from the hospital, I sat down next to him and I started to do some tapping. I realized that my adrenaline was off the charts. The fear that was in me was just tremendous. On a scale of 1 to 10, I was on 11 in terms of how upset I was. And so I knew that the only thing that could quickly bring down that fear was tapping. And it was something that was so simple and so effective that I knew that I had to do it. So I sat there and I started tapping, and I went from an 11 down to probably a 3, which was able to help me sleep through the night and deal with, every second when my son would, make a funny noise, or, something else would happen, that he was going to be okay, and that I was going to be okay, and that we were going to be okay. In fact, that was one of the things I used to tap on. And so I was able to handle, because he was eventually sick, I was able to handle him being sick. I was able to handle the trauma of what we went through. And when I was talking to people, and was conscious not to rewrite those pathways right after it happened, I did not want to reinforce those pathways in my brain of remembering things. So now I can talk about it without getting upset. I can hardly find the charge around the images that I can see in my mind's eye. And so I'm doing really well. In fact, there's probably a little bit of tapping I could do to completely eliminate it. However, my son, though, like I said, he started to not want to take naps, and he also didn't want to go to sleep at night by himself, so he was going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, which is completely unusual for him, and he also was a great napper, so this was also unusual. He also became afraid of the bath because when his fever was so high, I knew he was having a seizure because of the fever that I had noticed. So I took some water, not a lot, and I took him to the bathtub, and then I put some water on his feet and some water on his head, and then that was what helped him to get out of it. You're never supposed to submerge a child, when they have a high fever, because it brings it down even more quickly than it's supposed to, and that can also cause a seizure. So anyway, I did some surrogate tapping, which seemed to help a little bit, but I knew that possibly sending him to somebody else who was not so charged about the situation or close to the situation to help him with the lack of napping and sleeping. So I sent him to Corinna to help calm down his nervous system. And Corinna is a cranial-sacral therapist, and so cranial-sacral therapy is great for relieving the nervous system and calming it down, and that's exactly what happened. So he had the session 2 days ago, and thankfully yesterday and today he napped, and yesterday and today hopefully last night he went to bed at a normal hour, and then hopefully tonight he'll go to bed at a normal hour. And yesterday was the first time that he was able to sit down in the bath and not be afraid. So I am extremely grateful. It is amazing how our bodies will hold on to trauma. He couldn't tell me why he didn't want to go to sleep, of course, because he's only 2, almost 3. And he couldn't tell me why he didn't want to take a bath, just that he didn't want to take a bath. So that trauma was stored in his body, and his little body just told us, no, I'm not doing that, until we were able to reset his nervous system and calm him down. And now he feels more sure of himself, and now he feels more confident to go to sleep by himself. Now he feels more confident to be in the bath. So this is a technique that parents can use the tapping for themselves, and they can bring them to a craniosacral therapist, or they can do surrogate tapping for their child as well. So I really think that anytime that you are, as a parent, go through something that's traumatic, this is something that you can pull on immediately. So I just wanted to share. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks.